say, guys, I'm not one of them, I'm one of you guys, so please be easy on me with questions at the end of the session. And also, I'm not really planning to do a demonstration because I'd be terrified to stand up here and do it, okay? I work for the Central Statistics Office in Ireland. We would have 300, 400 statistical releases we get out each year, and as part of the dissemination division, we look after getting them out onto the web in a format that people hopefully want to read them, and also we take questions back from the public in terms of more details on statistics, etc. So from our point of view, it's get the statistics out in a readable format and hopefully not get too many questions back, but we're always happy to answer them. This presentation really is all about tables. The question I'd ask everyone here in the room is, within your organizations, how many of you have information, company information, whatever, that might be in a spreadsheet? Any information? Would you stick up hands and say you have any information in spreadsheets?
A bunch of liars.
Yeah, a few. So, and some of it you may or may not want to get out on websites depending on what the content of it is. But we have lots of tables. We have about 300 statistical releases by maybe 5 to 10 tables each. So you guys can do the maths. I'm the statistician, so you know, you can work it out. But really what we're looking at, a challenge last year was how to get these tables out onto a website. And we had lots of different kinds of them. We have statisticians who, for the last 20 years, have been producing tables. They've fine-tuned them to exactly what their users wanted in particular areas and disciplines. And their landscape, their portrait, small ones, big ones, and even if statisticians get very creative, they will actually put them across 2 A4 pages in a document. So that was really our challenge, was to take that information, which is currently in PDF documents, and try and figure to get it out onto a web page, but still providing the kind of functionality that some of their users were looking for. At the start of this, we looked at a number of things in transferring from PDF to web pages. We looked at using an XML editor with transformations. I did a bit of work on transformations and formatting objects to do that, to possibly retain PDFs as well as web pages within it. We looked at Microsoft and Word templates to transfer into HTML. We discovered with that we were going to have to maintain about 100 different templates for each different type of release. We use a lot of SAS for our statistical analysis, and a few people wrote programs to output to HTML, but again, it's loads of different programs to produce the HTML for individual releases. We also went to Finland, and they do have a nice package to take statistical tables plus commentary, etc., and put it out in HTML. Our difficulty with that was it was another package, or it was a number of packages bolted together. The documentation was in Finnish, which was a bit of a problem for us. And so we had last year installed, cut over to Terminalfour, and we said, why not look at that, and why not look at workflows within Terminalfour. And you could probably guess the solution we did come out with, because I'm up here talking here, not at a SAS or Microsoft conference. Just getting back to our tables, this is let's say, a representation of what our releases look like. There's a header with information about the name of the release, the date it was issued, what period it's for, you know, CPI for January, Census 2011, that sort of thing. So header information, we usually put in a small table encapsulating the key information for the release. We then have a headline which might be, milk production up 5% this month, and which we like to tweet out as well, and some more commentary plus probably a headline graph. So that's right at the start. We then get into more commentary, more tables, more graphs, more tables, more tables, more tables. Statisticians like producing tables, okay? So the bit in the bottom there can just vary. It can be a mixture of commentary, tables, graphs, more commentary, etc. So we couldn't just take one standard template. We needed to be able to, let's say, inject tables and commentary and graphs at various points within the overall publication. I spoke about this at a statistical dissemination conference about a month ago in Prague, and next two slides I put up in terms of the challenges that we saw we had with this. One was to say, okay, this was, I think, the old square in Prague about 100 years ago and the square in Prague now. And you can kind of look at it and look at some physical changes that have occurred. That pillar is no longer there. Maybe some of the shapes of the roofs, etc., have changed. But it's sort of similar when you look at what we were trying to do in terms of this project, which was we were trying to get away from PDFs, A4 style books, potentially printing this stuff, out to going and delivering potentially on mobile phones, etc. And a lot of the focus was how do we do it? But you'll also notice in that square there are a lot of people walking around. And the key thing we really had to think of was, are people actually changing the way they're looking at our documents, they're looking at statistics? And when you think about it, I think there has been a change. There's a lot more people, certainly hopefully in this country, who are now more interested in figures, more interested in whether we're using the figures correctly in terms of driving policy and things like that. So there has been a bit of a change from maybe some key experts looking at statistics to a lot more people trying to have a look and can we deliver statistics in a way that it's more interesting to them. Okay, so in terms of the design, we've got our release there. We've very much a sort of pyramid where I've got down the bottom density of information. We want to deliver up front some short, snappy stuff and gradually move into more and more detail, maybe some graphs, some larger tables, and right down the bottom there, we may even want to have people move stuff out into an interactive data bank or download as spreadsheets, etc. So it's a more dynamic way of looking at it rather than just straight A4 pages being dumped on people. And in terms of the number of people, we're saying we've a density of users. We've over 5,000, nearly 6,000 Twitter users, I think, at this stage. So we want them to at least take a quick look at each of these publications, potentially. Some of them are going to get hooked in and move a bit further down in the document. And then right down towards the bottom, maybe a couple of PhD students working away. They want much more detail, right down to some of our government policymakers, hopefully looking at the serious detail of the statistics that we deliver. So I've got in the middle there intensity of technology as well flowing, right from people receiving SMS messages on basic mobile phones through a lot of people looking on smartphones at what we're doing, right through down to wide screens and typically delivering into spreadsheets, etc. So responsive design also was very much a key to what we were looking at in terms of this. As I say, lots of different types of publications, and the current process was each statistical division, each statistician would deliver to our typesetting department a document with the chat, let's say, about the statistics in it, the spreadsheets that needed to go out as tables, and various graphs in spreadsheet format as well. We had a typesetting division whose key function was how to figure out to get those onto an A4 page and get it out as a publication. So we looked at it and said, okay, we don't want to vastly change the process. So we said, let's get and take the spreadsheets as they are, and let's try and get them into Terminalfour system to be output within the documents onto mobile phones, etc. So we have, through the workflow, spreadsheets into the media library, graphs into the media library, done by the statistical sections themselves, not typesetting, and the statisticians sitting down with the release and typing in their commentary as they see the figures and interpret the figures. So very much a change in terms of what they do, but we're still taking some of the basic inputs, so their back-end processes don't have to change too much. Okay? So this we came up with, at this time last year, I think I ended up with conversations with Piero and David, probably up in the bar, to say, you know, we need to look at trying to do something here. What do you guys think? We then worked through the idea with, I think, Deirdre from Professional Services and the guys on the development side. And we basically specified what we were looking for was to easily take spreadsheets, load them into the media library, and have them rendered out at either preview or publish time out as actual tables within a web page. So basically, simple enough concept, just transform each of the cells into HTML table tags, and with the formatting, the background colors, etc., all brought through with it. Simple enough, but you know, there was a fair amount of work had to go into the development of it. From our point of view then, it then came out as the Excel to HTML broker, which we were then able to take, bring into a template and wrap around it what we wanted in terms of functionality to produce within a release and within a responsive design. So what we had was, the example here is rendered directly out of this new broker, and we were able to wrap around things like show hide on it, so that on a mobile phone you're not getting splattered with every single table straight off. You can pick out the ones you want to view. And we also have a stat bank, this interactive system, which runs in parallel with our releases, where you can find any data that you want out of the CSO. So we had, again, just a link to that if people want to delve a bit more into the detail interactively. And also, the great advantage from our point of view was that now that the spreadsheet's in the media library, anybody who wants to can actually download that particular table to do a bit of work on it, and hopefully policymakers and people like that are doing that. Click on the download and you can see this is the spreadsheet that produced the top table there. Couple of things in it. We're able to define, I think you'll see table 1 milk statistics there. When it's up on the website, we define a specific size so our statisticians can't go crazy in terms of their fonts, etc. So the broker and wrapping CSS, etc. around it gave us the ability to control really what goes out there, but allow the statisticians still have the flexibility that they want. So what else to say about it? We're a boring old statistical organization, so these charts don't look particularly good, you know, in terms of colors and that, but that's how we probably want to have it in terms of our style at the moment. From your point of view, if you have any sort of spreadsheets that you might want to get out on an intranet or internet, you can do all sorts of things with colors, borders to it, and get that looking really good in terms of it comes out as you've got it within the spreadsheet. Just a couple of points practical points is, if you have something way out to the left or way out to the right, happens to be a blank within the spreadsheet itself, for some reason somebody worked out there, you then, particularly for responsive design, have to make sure it's a nice clean spreadsheet. There is no extraneous stuff out there, because it does exactly what it says. It will take every single cell within the spreadsheet and output it out. So just on that, you have to make sure the spreadsheets are cleaned up. In terms of implementing it, and this is where I have to take up the card again, Excel spreadsheets loaded into the, sorry, how my time was? Okay, spreadsheets loaded up into the media library. In terms of the content type, you've got to have a T4 tag, which is Excel to HTML. It allows you to specify which sheets within the spreadsheet you pick out to output. Within the, it's no longer style, page layout of the page layout, you also have a T4 tag there. You basically then, you set up your template, and off you go in terms of making use of that and outputting whatever spreadsheets you want. Couple of pointers on it. Make sure the spreadsheet is clean. As I mentioned before, it's just one that, you know, sometimes you can see odd things happening, and you just make sure there's nothing extraneous around what you actually want to produce. You can hide spreadsheets within the spreadsheets, and we would do that for calculation sheets. You can also select which ones you just want to output. Merge cells in terms of our work with them in terms of borders, and that sometimes can create some just slight issues with it, but we've always been able to get around it. A big thing for us was sub and superscripts, being able to annotate particular cells, and that took a bit of effort on the guys to get that working, but that is now up and running. And things like text should not run across. If you're in column A and you have a big long title, you actually have to merge a few cells to make sure it fits in properly, okay, to make room for whatever text is in the cell itself. And again, make sure the spreadsheet is clean. I won't really run through the benefits. You probably are thinking already of what potentially you can do with it yourselves. But from our point of view, we're actually allowing the statisticians to still maintain these tables they really like to have, and yet we're getting the whole process automated, where they no longer have to go through our typesetting section to deal with it. We're cutting over live at the end of this month. We're coming back from the conference. We're loading up. We've been doing about 3 months testing, user training. We've about 60 to 100 people we will ultimately have to get trained up. Design work, and we cut over to our live T4 system next week, and on the 30th of November, very exciting stuff. Milk statistics for Ireland will be out in the new format. Okay, thank you.